In the second episode of Chief of War, Kayana unknowingly secures his future by saving Captain John Mears. That moment of heroism later becomes the reason he's taken aboard the Nootka after plunging into the Pacific, escaping Kahekili's men. For Kayana, a native warrior suddenly thrust into a foreign world, the experience is jarring. He's surrounded by people who judge him by the color of his skin, sailing to lands he knows nothing. A year later, Kayana has found an unlikely ally in Tony, a black crew member who was once enslaved. Tony, having lived among racist crewmates, understands the mental toll of constant discrimination. Kayana's presence gives him companionship, and in return, Tony takes him under his wing, teaching him how to use firearms. Kayana's curiosity about what he calls red-mouth weapons turns into skill, and when he successfully hunts a deer with a musket in the snowy terrain of Alaska, we see how far he's come. But Kayana's interest in guns runs deeper than Tony realizes. He keeps to himself, avoids crew dealings, and his conversations often circle back to weapons. His first exposure to the destructive power of firearms came from Ka'ahumanu, and instead of fearing them, Kayana sees their potential to liberate his people from Kahekili's oppressive rule. When the ship docks in Zamboanga, Kayana is singular in his focus. He wants guns, lots of them. Tony finds his enthusiasm amusing, but even he knows how dangerous such power can be. Despite Tony's cynicism about prophecies and colonizers, Kayana is driven by one goal: to correct his past mistakes. His earlier support helped Kahekili wreak havoc on their homeland. Now Kayana believes the only way to aid the rightful prophesied king is by weakening Kahekili's grip with superior fire. Why Moku wants Ka'ahumanu to marry Kamehameha? Back in Hawaii, a year has changed much, but for Ka'ahumanu and Kupuohi, time feels frozen. Kupuohi likely assumes her husband is lost forever, while Ka'ahumanu remains unsure of her place in the larger political upheaval. They find solace in their shared experiences and quiet friendship, communicating through the English they've picked up from John Young, a British settler who's found a role among the island. Moku, Ka'ahumanu's father and a respected chief, is wary of Europeans despite being cordial with John Young. He's seen their unpredictability. As the threat of Kahekili grows and the islands brace for change, Moku keeps his intentions hidden, even from his daughter. But everything pivots around King Kalaniʻaopuʻu's failing health and the question of success. Kamehameha, the king's nephew, emerges as a natural leader. In a symbolic moment, he's the last warrior to surface in a breath-holding endurance test, revealing both strength and discipline. Moku and Kalaniʻaopuʻu both understand that Kamehameha, not the impulsive Keoa, must be the one to lead. Kalaniʻaopuʻu, a seasoned leader who once endured abduction by Captain Cook's men, is not blinded by ego. He recognizes both external colonial threats and the danger posed by Kahekili, a self-proclaimed prophesied king whose violent tyranny has escalated to poisoning rivals and their families. In contrast, Kamehameha is level-headed and learns from past failures, such as Hawaii's defeat at Kamokuhi due to food shortages, not weakness. He's already preparing for the future, stockpiling supplies to avoid repeating history. Moku is convinced Kamehameha is the true prophesied king, not just because of his virtues, but because Moku was there at his birth, when a celestial sign, a star, foretold the arrival of Hawaii's unifier. Moku's plan to marry Ka'ahumanu to Kamehameha isn't political convenience, it's destiny. He believes their union will balance power and purpose. While Ka'ahumanu lacks political clout, she has vision and intellect. Through this marriage, she can help guide Kamehameha, and together they could end Hawaii's era of bloodshed. What are Marley and Captain Metcalf? Kayana stands apart from the world he's been dropped into. His values clash with the greed-driven logic of foreign lands. In Zamboanga, even small acts of kindness, like giving money to a poor man, reveal his selflessness, despite being far from home and needing to conserve resources. He's impossible to miss with his red cape and tall hat, and locals either gawk or mock him. One of those who notices him is Wainane, now going by Vi, a Hawaiian woman also stuck in Zamboanga. She sees in Kayana a path back home, and more than that, an opportunity. Greed, a trait she's absorbed from European influences, drives her. She promises Kaiana weapons in exchange for help navigating Hawaiian politics. She offers Captain Mirrors access to native sandalwood, essentially selling out her land's resources with Kaiana as the middleman. Though Kaiana is appalled, he may have no choice. Vi's motives mirror those of the Europeans, exploitation wrapped in charm. Meanwhile, deeper trouble brews on the Nootka. Marley, a crewman eaten up by racism, conspires with Captain Metcalf, one of the first outsiders to set foot in Hawaii and become part of its tangled history. When Tony discovers their plans to use Kaiana's homeland for profit, Marley attacks him viciously and sedates him. Unless Kaiana intervenes, Tony's fate could be grim. But the episode doesn't end on darkness alone. Kaahumanu, haunted by a prophecy that she'll never bear a son, hesitated to marry Kamehameha. In her culture, bearing heirs is a wife's primary purpose, but Moku, wise and far-sighted, urges her to keep this knowledge to herself and go through with the marriage. Their union, blessed by the Mahelani moon, is a spiritual and political turn. As the kapu, sacred laws that govern society, is symbolically lifted, Kaahumanu and Kamehameha step into their roles as Hawaii's destined leaders. Their marriage isn't just about lineage, it's about power, transformation, and a shared vision. Kaahumanu, as future regent queen, will not only uplift Kamehameha, but eventually help dismantle the very rules that once confined her.